They call it the granddaddy of prison rodeos, and in its 41st year, the Texas Prison Rodeo shows no signs of growing senile as it draws up to 25,000 people each weekend in October. The Texas Prison Rodeo is an opportunity for those on the inside to take a look at those on the outside, and vice versa. It's also an opportunity to see that there are human beings on both sides. All the looking starts outside the ivy-covered walls of the Huntsville prison. The inmate band plays country western songs with a special flavor of sincerity, and the color and excitement of midway fun and games in the shadow of the wall create an atmosphere unique unto itself. This year, something new was added to the rodeo, which has achieved worldwide fame as the roughest and wildest show on earth. Something like women's liberation must have made it inside the bars, because for the first time, convict women are allowed to participate. At the gory unit for women, I talked to a couple of girls who volunteered to participate that Sunday afternoon. Iris West, who's in for 9 years for burglary, and Lillia Harper, who's serving 12 years for murder. Although Lillia had never been in a rodeo before, she was excited about participating in this one. The prison rodeo is the only event which brings the men and women of the prison system anywhere near each other. Although the gory girls only participate in 3 events, the calf scramble, the pig sacking, and a donkey race, they keep close eye on the men's events, perhaps just to pick up a few pointers. The purpose of the Texas Prison Rodeo is not simply a chance for a bunch of convicts to try to break their necks for a few dollars. The revenue funds rehabilitative programs for inmates. An impressive array of educational, religious, and skill training opportunities are available to these men and women who have a little time on their hands. Neither Lillia nor Iris won any big money in this competition, but they had a good time trying. Iris is already looking forward to next year.
Well, I come up for parole next September. So if I make it, I'll be out. But I'm going to sign up just in case I'm here. But you know what? This rodeo is so much fun that I wouldn't mind staying that extra month. I really wouldn't.
Women's liberation hasn't taken over the Texas Prison Rodeo, of course. My cameraman's inside, but I'm outside because I got thrown out. Women aren't allowed in the rodeo arena, a guard politely but firmly told me. For Channel 8 News on the Move, this is Judi Hanna at the Texas Prison Rodeo.
Extra help is that our inmate clown.
When they let me out of prison, I held my head up high. Determined I would rise above the same. But no matter where
It's been said that if you weren't a criminal before you came to prison, you'd learn to be one inside. Is that the case here? At the rodeo, how do you feel when all those free world people are looking at you? Do you feel...
Well, you know,
Iris, just a minute. Iris, what are you in for?
Margaret,
And y'all are never studying the Texas Prison Rodeo.
I think it's great, very exciting.
Well, what do you do?
Check your weapon numbers. If you find you have the wrong weapon, please check. 20 years service. Oh, you here a while. Hang on to your hat. Hang on to everything. Don't drop your hat, whatever you do. Where you fellas going? Here it goes. Nope, he didn't make it, so we'll go across the chute to the rodeo in 72. You can't beat that. Come on, Willie. Little bitty old thing there. Look at there. Folks on everything. Cowboys tied up there. All you have to do is grab him. Don't let him go. Which way do you go? Now, take it over to the judge. There goes the team in red. Looks like they're going to be number one. Come on, tail him up there, gal. Now, in chute number 6, Gaylord Stroop.
It's clear. It's in the air. It's up. He's up straight with it. There it is. How about it?
That's not essential.
You got a book here.
Yeah, it's a long statement, so I'm just going to read. Wait, did you hear me? What I told him? Over in there, Rick.
What it can and cannot consider by the very nature of what it is, a constitutional convention. It's a danger. It's a very dangerous thing.
They're putting a lot of stock in that pledge.
Well, I'm not suggesting that they're operating in bad faith. It's just that.
No. Yes, then I will. No, is this the one that passed the House? When was it, yesterday?
This is, of course, we haven't moved Texas over because this was printed prior to knowing whether or not it would pass in the Senate.
Okay.
Very good. I'll have something else here for you in a minute.
All right.
The committee will be...
Ladies and gentlemen. Staff, ladies and gentlemen, it's a real pleasure to be here, and let me tell you this much.
Thank you, my good friend Henry Wendler. And Janie and I want to thank each of you. Opportunity to be one of concrete accomplishment, more so than any administration. We want to thank each of you for another warm welcome to Dallas. You know, I know that every speaker that you have will get up. Today and in the months ahead must be to instill this concept, which has made Rotary International such a dynamic force throughout the world, to instill
into it and has been swimming well ever since. Place in 1966 in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Aside from the need for effective coordination of our efforts in the behalf of independence,
It would mean that the government would take control of...
The other thing that I have on my mind this morning is one of the
most likely area for big fines is offshore.
Main keys to the solution of the economic
increase in dependency and the gradual erosion.
Be moved or something like that. That's what I'd like to find out a little bit about.
Are we talking? I'm not talking about Berry Street. I'm talking about the lot on Ryan Avenue.
Oh, right. Zoning was denied on this or something like this.
Oh, no. I'm just saying that this is.
Permit that I asked for. As to Mrs. Holland, I've been here a lot.
Age, advanced age, or other reasons, but they are concerned about it.
one thing the police do that applies here, though. They're willing to put up with 900 false leads to find one good one. I've got the slides with me. I do wonder about such things, even though this is backwards. There are many reports of landed UFOs accompanied by creatures, humanoids, critters, little green men, whatever you want to.
Crime is growing at an alarming rate, which I know you're all very conscious of, all over this state and this nation. Among the major reforms that, in my opinion, we can enact that will do something about it is a reform of the bail bond system. You know, it's a very common practice for repeat offenders to get out on bond after bond after bond and go out and commit more crimes. We actually had a bank robbery in Houston last December in which one of the bank robbers was then out on 4 separate felony bonds. Unbelievable, common practice all over this state and this nation.
It is unreasonable that a person charged with a felony can get out on bail, commit another felony, be apprehended, and again get out on bail, only to continue this vicious cycle. The right to bail is a precious right and must be preserved. But the person who abuses this right and preys upon society by persisting in criminal activity must forfeit this right and be removed from the street.
Over in Munich, he of course became the first Texan to ever win 4 medals in one Olympics, and he of course is the reason that we are here today. And besides that, Mark Spitz couldn't come, so
I can let you in on a secret. I've been checking with Coach Fry down on the end. We've got one problem solved for Saturday. If it rains and there's water on the field, Heidenreich's the quarterback. You know, your brain is a remarkable thing. It starts to function the minute you are born and doesn't stop until you get up to make a speech. I got that joke from Mark. The Olympics are an amazing thing. They bring about mishap, tragedy, bungle, triumph, and upset. The main theme of the Olympics now is supposed to exemplify brotherhood, exchange ideas from different cultures, and achieve personal merit. These themes seem to have been replaced by national prestige with the waving of flags and the counting of medals, all of which takes place at a site which resembles a money-making World's Fair. Each country seems to believe that they can interpret physical feats as evidence of sociological and ideological superiority. The main event of the Olympics nowadays seems to be the bickering of officials. Yet with all this, the great achievements of the 20th Olympics, the tragic murder of the Israelites overshadowed everything. Excuse me, I'm a little nervous. It's hard to explain why the important thing in the Olympic Games is not winning, but taking part. Win or lose at the Olympics, one discovers the essential thing in life is not conquering, but doing well. Thank you.
Well, I think there's a possibility that we can move him on. I think it will depend a lot on how he works all week. We don't know for sure whether his arm will get sore on him after he starts to work with the team, which he's doing now. He has the full go, and he'll be taking his turn in rotation. And if his arm holds up, if I feel like he's throwing the ball well enough, we might activate him this week.
would there be any circumstances that he would play against Washington?
Well, the circumstances won't be good if he plays, in my opinion, at this point, because Martin will either get hurt or we'll be so far behind we can't win. And these two circumstances I don't like to think about.
You know, it's real fascinating, and psychology is such a big factor in college football. And Big Al got the idea that instead of staying at a plush motel or such like that the night before the game, he takes his kids out to an old camp out in the woods about 20 miles out of Houston, old bunk beds about 30 to a great big old dormitory-like room, and they stay out there, and then after dinner they take a walk down a long old dirt road to a tree, an oak tree they call the Victory Tree, and they sit around that tree and they have inspirational messages, you might see, and talk it up to each other and get in the right frame of mind for the game. And it seems to be working pretty good because so far our kids are playing real well with a lot of inspiration. Our problem now is, can we find a Victory Tree around the Hyatt House in Dallas?
Tom B. Metters, Jr., addressing the 43rd annual meeting of the IPAA, said at some point, and we quote, "Politics must be laid aside, and the inclination of some politicians to use the industry as a whipping boy be revealed for what it is, demagoguery," unquote. Mr. Metters also called on President Nixon to give the industry the one ingredient it needs: money.
I know the administration is wisely attempting to control inflation. I know we have a price commission, and I know the price commission has got its guidelines. But I also know, and you know, that the nation's economic and military security is imperiled by increasingly insufficient secure sources of crude. Moved by what I believe to be in the best interest not only of the industry but of this country, I implore the President to remove the restrictions on price increases for domestic crude oil at the earliest practicable time.
Mr. Metters goes on to say that he feels the oil industry is being discriminated against in that it cannot raise the price on its crude oil. Even as Republican U.S. Senator John Tower speaks in the background, and Democrat Harry Byrd of West Virginia waits in the wings for his chance to speak to these oil men, Mr. Metters says this is a bipartisan effort to end what could be an energy famine in this country. And he says the answer will not come riding in on the back of a donkey or an elephant. At the Statler Hilton in downtown Dallas, this is Jim Mitchell, Channel 8 News on the Move.
Most of all is why these protesters, and they use the word as being protesters, have got their thing out for me. I just don't understand it. Now, I really question how sincere they really are.
So I later found out that the house next door
from Mrs. Margaret Cox and from Mrs. Ruby Wells, I think that would probably speak to this issue of what they will feel will happen in their immediate block.
The evidence is overwhelming that flying saucers are indeed real, that the Earth is being visited. Some of the evidence is in the form of photographs taken from all over the world of UFOs. Here's a picture taken in Salt Lake City, Utah, March 8, 1972. It's the fifth in a sequence of 7 photographs taken by a professional cameraman. We can see an enlargement of it here with a region of what I think is ionized air here and some kind of ports of one sort or another around the edge. This is March 1972. This was taken near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the moon on the left, the object on the right, 2 witnesses, another witness across the street, pictures developed by the local newspaper, judged by a UFO group to be a responsible, respectable photographer and a legitimate picture of a UFO. The biggest study ever done was or one of the larger studies, not the biggest, was the scientific study of unidentified flying objects, the Condon Report, done at the University of Colorado. Contrary to the coverage that was given this document, 30% of the cases they looked at could not be identified. This included excellent radar visual cases, sightings by 3 astronauts which remain to be identified. This makes a very good case for UFO reality, despite press coverage to the contrary.
When you were talking about the little green men, you didn't hedge at all. You said they are. Could you elucidate?
Yeah, I didn't call them little green men. I mean, that's a notion that people use. Yes, there are hundreds of reports from all over the world from responsible, respectable people of UFOs, or Earth excursion modules as I prefer to call them, on or near the ground, accompanied by what appear to be their pilots or passengers, however you look at it. And they're humanoid-looking creatures. That is, an arm, 2 legs, 2 head, and a body.
2 heads and a body?
No, a head, 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, and a body. Much like us. That is, they're not the bug-eyed monsters that the science fiction writers like to talk about.
Sir, can you tell me what happened here?
Well, I was sitting over across in front of him. He just walked around like a man crazy and started shooting, turning around shooting.
Oh, did he look like he picked his victims when he was shooting, or just what?
He just turning around in circles.
Did the man seem to be under any influence?
No,
or
he seemed to be normal.
We hope we fail. We hope that the committee is not needed. Our real intention is to get the Congress of the United States to pass an amendment. This is what we really want. But if they're not willing to do it, then we're willing to go the Constitutional Convention route.
Governor Smith himself did not appear before television cameras to make this morning's announcement. Instead, his office issued a 4-page statement carefully worked out over the course of the morning. The statement, read by Gubernatorial Press Secretary Carlton Carl, expressed Governor Smith's disappointment that legislators had not been able to agree on an insurance bill, but it dwelt positively on the things the special session had done. Things like the budget execution authority he'd requested, funding for the Fort Worth State School for the Mentally Retarded, and money to pay for primary election expenses. And he said it would be useless to call another special session, as he had threatened to do.
The differences evidenced by the 2 houses of the legislature at this time appear to be too great to be worked out. In addition, the leadership of both the Senate and the House have made it clear to me that, in their opinions, nothing could be accomplished in another special session. Another session could not accomplish the purpose that I desire and that I believe the people of this state deserve: insurance reform. Therefore, I do not intend to call another session.
Much less content with the 30 days was State Senator Oscar Mauzy. Senator Mauzy sponsored the insurance bill in the Senate and was extremely disappointed that it didn't get through the conference committee. But he told me today that he's not through with insurance matters.
Those of us who are going to be back in January are going to try again. I don't think that the war has been lost because we didn't win a particular skirmish.
Do you feel that there's a chance in January that you can get concurrence between the House and the Senate?
Well, certainly the House is going to be much improved next session by reason of single-member districts and other things. I'm convinced that a majority of the House will be much more responsive to the public and not nearly as responsive as the present majority in the House seems to be to the insurance lobby.